Hey nerds, we are going to do a review of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It is directed by James Wan and starring Jason Momoa, Patrick Wilson, and Yahya Abdule Mateen II, starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social. I am Colin.
I'm Jhon.
So, this is now the kind of like the ceremonial end of the DCEU as we know it. So it's been 10 years of this run. I kind of call it the Snyderverse, but whatever, it is what it is. I know that you, John, have been a very big DC guy. I've also have done some reviews of this and kind of like been in and out of these reviews. I think that when we started in 2021, we started with Wonder Woman actually.
Yeah.
So Wonder Woman was our very first review, and yeah, what was it? Wonder Woman 1984? Was it? Oh no, Wonder Woman 1984 was our very first
That was
review.
our first one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they have the infamous kind of infamous that we started our channel based on Wonder Woman 1984, and then from there on we kind of reviewed almost all the DC films pretty much. I know that you were a part of it, and I was somewhat a part of it here and there with other things. So again, this is the end of it. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom being the final part of this. We also have actually it's funny that Peter Safran was one of the producers. When I saw the end credits, he's one of the producers of this, so it's really
Yep.
interesting that he was. Um, and so James Wan brings his vision to the end here, and basically, this comes out today. Actually, 5 years ago, the first Aquaman came out yesterday. I think it was, and so it's
Yep.
kind of like synonymous that it came out today, and it took 5 years, which is kind of crazy. So, but anyways, we'll do a break, we'll do a kind of spoiler free, and then we'll do a breakdown of what's gonna happen. So before we do that, I just wanted to let John get in his thoughts about Aquaman of the Lost Kingdom.
So this movie had a lot to live up to. The first Aquaman made over $1 billion. It was a huge hit, and it just hit all the right spots and checked all the right boxes for the first one. It was fun. It was probably one of the first quote unquote fun movies that the DC cinematic entertainment universe actually hit on and did well, and it was a nice mix for it. This movie here definitely tried to follow the same formula. It definitely has its fun moments and lots of funny scenes as well. Aquaman, Jason Momoa, played by Jason Momoa, has been cracking jokes left and right. They're definitely following similar formulas that we have already seen in other superhero movies. So I couldn't help but feel that I've seen many sequences, scenes, or at least themes that we already saw in other successful movies, things that have been done before. So in that respects, it felt like not very fresh as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, don't get me wrong, the movie was still very fun. My
Mm-hmm.
family and we enjoyed it. But walking out, it was a good popcorn movie, not too bad. But I still don't see why people are trashing it left and right.
Yeah.
I do see some pretty bad reviews or, fairly middling reviews, surprisingly, because you know what, it just comes off as a very safe movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious that there's some scenes in the movie, particularly the first half or maybe even the first quarter, where you can tell that they kind of either redid it,
Mm-hmm.
reshot it, or rearranged it and decided to go for something else, because there's a ton of voiceover narratives that narration that felt kind of out of place. Felt
Yeah.
like they kept going back to that well a little too much for expositions, but otherwise the performances. Jason Momoa sticks out. He's funny as heck, and Patrick Wilson is always very good, very reliable, and again the action scenes are pretty good. The CGI was a little bit of a mixed bag. There were some scenes where it looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Other scenes, it feels like, we ran out of time. Let's go with this.
Yeah.
But otherwise, overall, it was a fun movie. And unfortunately, um, it's the end of the DC cinematic universe, and well, at least the DCEU as it's known. And now we're going to be moving into the new DCU that's supposed to be coming out under, as you mentioned, Peter Safran and now James Gunn together, who are co-CEOs of DCU.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that this movie was definitely very enjoyable. I think that for me, it was fun. It was very fun. It was safe, like you said, John, and just I just really liked it. I just like Jason Momoa's personality. I did not see Fast X, and I think that I kind of got why people like Fast X was because of Jason Momoa, and he basically just took all that positive energy, humorous energy into this movie. And he kind of carried the movie, to be honest with you. I mean, he did. So the movie is written by David Leslie Johnson-McGoldrick, James Wan, and Jason Momoa. So he had a hand in this movie to make it really good. I think that Patrick Wilson was really, really good as well. Kind of a play on this. And James Wan kind of described this movie as a buddy comedy, which was the case. And I really liked the interactions between the two. But of course, in terms of seeing it before, you've seen it before. Yes, you have. It's called Thor and Loki. So, and even the thing is that Jason Momoa even told us in the
That was the
movie.
in joke. He even referenced. Oh, okay.
He even referenced Loki, and it's like, okay, like he's okay. I admire him for doing that because I'm just like, okay, if you want to go ahead and do that, great, do it. And then if you want to just make fun of that and self-deprecate yourself, go ahead and do that. I found it really amusing that he did say that, and it was pretty obvious that that was the case. And but also I think you're right, John. The tone of it was very weird because you have these buddy moments, buddy comedy moments, but then you have David Kane, played by Yahya Abdul Mateen, and he's like menacing and he's like mean and he wants to kill he wants to have mayhem all over the place and stuff like that. And you're like, wait a second, am I watching the same movie? This is kind of like totally kind of weird. And so it's kind of like Justice League in some ways, the theatrical Justice League version, where you're like, what am I doing here? Like, is this supposed to be humorous? Is it supposed to be like really, really like foreboding and brooding, like kind of like how he is in the movie? So it's like I don't know. It's just kind of strange overall. So yeah, I think that it's definitely a strange mix of like a lot of different things. As to why it was that way, that's the case. I think yeah, they just kind of like did a mishmash of things and it's kind of very weird overall. So having said all that, what's your rating for this, John? I'm very curious to hear what that is going to be.
Well, the rating I give it is a 6 out of 10. I call it a
Okay.
date night, which means it's a film that won't ruin any special evening with your significant other, but you're probably likely not to revisit.
Yeah, I think for me, it's definitely going to be a seven, a dinner party. I think that it's definitely good in terms of the fun and entertainment side of it. I definitely enjoyed the interactions with Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson. I loved it. I loved the humor. It was funny, and I just enjoyed it, even though it was kind of like derivative in a lot of ways. And is it a good ending? It's kind of like a meh ending to be honest with you. So that's kind of how I thought about it. So I know that there was some technical difficulty here with my screen here. I can't fix it at this moment, but apologies for that. The window over there is kind of like going to John right there. So
I just
apologize with that about that technical difficulty. But if you like what we have to say, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And any other thoughts before we get into spoiler territory?
Now let's get right into it.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Spoilers ahead. Okay, so we are back. We're just gonna go right into the spoiler right now breakdown, and we start off with basically, Aquaman being a family man, and so that is Arthur Jr. there, with Arthur Jr. And then like a good like you said, John. There was like a lot of exposition, which is kind of like very. I mean, it took you away from the movie, but I can understand why they did it. But it was again funny moments here and there. Him being at him and stuff like that.
Dad.
Yeah, being a dad. Okay, so we are back. So we're just gonna go right into the spoiler right now breakdown, and we start off with basically, Aquaman being a family man, and so that is Arthur Jr. there, with Arthur Jr. and then like a good like you said, John. There was like a lot of exposition, which is kind of like very. I mean, it took you away from the movie, but I can understand why they did it. But it was again funny moments here and there. Him being at him and stuff like that. Yeah, being a dad, and I think I haven't had the opportunity of being a dad yet, but I'm sure that the both of you have had those moments in your life. Go ahead.
Neither did I, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it very interesting, and then you can see like the juxtaposition of him being the dad and also being a ruler of Atlantis, which is kind of like, you know, I think it still sends a good message that you are being a father, and you still have responsibilities and things like that, and being like a really engaged father. It's not like back in the day where it's like you go to work and you don't care. Like he really is fully engaged in that. So I applaud them for kind of showing that in some ways to make him feel a little bit more down to earth in a lot of ways. So it's cool. It's a cool moment overall. Yeah, definitely. So we get to a point where it was there is the plan where Black Manta was trying to attack. I think this is where Mira gets wounded as well. Was wounded, and I think I didn't really get that part that much because I was kind of like half falling asleep. It was a long day. It wasn't like anything bad with the movie, but it maybe my gut instinct tell me this is not really that important. So maybe I just fall asleep.
Yeah, Mira was part of the security response team when Black Manta was trying to steal the Unobtainium. I don't know what else to call it from Atlantis, right? And yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and the thing they're going after, right? The bright shiny object, and so the Atlantis security team, along with his mother and Mira, went to go defend, and in the process, she was injured pretty badly by Black Manta.
Now I thought that she was gonna die. So I mean, this is pretty
I thought they
obvious.
were going to
Yeah,
kill her off.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I thought. Yep,
Off the
exactly.
screen issues with Johnny Depp and all that stuff. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought they were going to kill her off.
yeah, that's what I thought too. But they didn't do it. She was there. Um, but then they hopped off the section, and so they kind of made sure that kind of a rescue mission in some ways, kind of like, what are we gonna do now? We find that Black Manta is very really powerful, and so how are we going to fix this and try to defeat him in a lot of ways. So what happened was that he hopped up the idea of maybe we should just record Orm to do this, and so everyone's saying it's a bad idea. I think that Dolph Lundgren's character was saying, "Oh, that's a bad idea," and everyone else saying it's a bad idea. But I think they kind of Aquaman try to, oh well, let's try to see if
Yeah,
that works and
it
stuff.
was a reach. It was an
Hmm.
absolute reach. I thought it's like, hey, let's go get the criminal and the guy who tried to bring everything down in the last movie, and get him involved. Just a nice fluffy excuse to get him back in there. I mean, don't get me wrong. He did a great job, and he was very welcome. And I love the buddy comedy they
Hmm.
did. But it was to me, it was very very a thin premise for them to go and get him.
Well, I think they just needed to get to the buddy part, and
Yeah,
that's pretty much
get
what
right to
carried.
it.
Yeah, this is what just carried the movie, and so this part was funny as hell. When he said, "Oh, let's go Skinny Jeans," and then later on he said "Castaway" and Wilson. I was like, "Oh my god, that is the funniest stuff!" And it's like he just like kept rolling with it, and just like, oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
so so funny.
Jason Momoa was definitely on a roll there with some of the quips and name calling and all that nicknames.
Yeah, and then this part where where he's doing the high five and stuff. I'm just like, yo, high five. I was like, I'm not your brother. It's just like, it's just so deadpan. It's so deadpan delivery, and then it's so funny also that he was so rail thin, like a
Yeah.
rail thin, and then he goes in the water, and he has a six pack.
Oh, Patrick Wilson got jacked. I mean, he was in great shape. Yeah, he got jacked.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so much. Just have to go into the water, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah. So just want to point out that this is all very reminiscent of Thor: The Dark World, where Thor needed Loki's help. Instead, in this movie, it's the opposite way around. The straight man is not Thor; it's actually Patrick Wilson in this case, Orm, that is, instead of the other way around. So, anyways, right off the bat, it looked like Thor 2, the way they were headed with this.
hmm Right, exactly. So yeah, it's got kind of, and even like I said, in the non-spoiler part that they basically referenced it, and it's just like
He called him Loki.
he called him Loki, and I'm like, oh gosh, okay, all right. So then what happened was that after he got rescued, Orm just said, okay, let's see if we can find Black Manta, and so we went to this cantina slash pirate
Cannabite.
cove. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Cantabite, exactly. So they're kind of borrowing from every film, maybe from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, all right, fine, and there's the and Jabba the Hutt there, voiced by Martin Short. So it's like it's very interesting
Oh, that
to
was
kind of
Martin
see
Short?
that.
Okay.
That was Martin Short. Yeah,
I
that
didn't
was
know
Martin
that.
Short. Yep, it's just so interesting overall. And then this part where another kind of funny bit where he bumped into the statue. He kind of deflect. That was from Thor Ragnarok. God damn, all these Thor references.
Yeah.
And then it's like Kingsville Bridges, and then it's like, and then the metaphor part, and you can see like how happy he is about all this stuff, and I just find it very fun. It's like he's having a lot of fun with this, even though he knows like it's the end, but he's having his fun, and kudos for him for kind of realizing that that type of sort of thing.
Yeah, Jason Momoa is in this movie and also in his recent one, Fast 10. Definitely much more jovial. It seems like his real world personality from what we've seen behind the scenes and all that, definitely coming forth more in his characters.
hmm hmm Yeah, and so what happened is then you juxtapose this with kind of like this brooding character, the villain, Black Manta, who's like, I want to kill Aquaman and I want to destroy everything he is, and you're like, huh? It's like, okay, it's kind of strange that is the case. Very very strange that way. And just so interesting to kind of see that difference tonally. And it's like it takes you away from the movie, doesn't it? In a lot of ways, it takes you from the movie a lot, and all that. I think.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
switching back and
Single
forth.
mountain.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, the switching back and forth definitely looked like it was. I don't know. That came off like Rise of Skywalker, where they were just kind of like quickly rushing from one scene to the next, right? And that's how it came off to me.
Nathan, you still want to say something? Go ahead.
No, I mean he was single-minded. I think he did. I think the scenes that I mostly liked with him was between him and Randall Park. The him playing Randall Park kind of grounded his crazy and it just said things that like a normal person would say. So I didn't dislike that part of the movie just because Randall Park was there. If he was just like brooding, yelling to his random henchmen,
Yeah.
it would have been it would have pulled the movie down. But like Randall Park being there for him to sound off on made those scenes interesting.
Right. I definitely, yeah. Randall Park definitely kind of like from our standpoint, like from a non-metahuman standpoint, we're kind of like on the ground. You can definitely tell, in some ways you're like he's a coward, but then you're like, no, but he doesn't have superpowers. Why do you think that he's a coward? He's making choices to like save his life. He doesn't want to
This
die.
movie, this movie isn't that sophisticated. You could think about, at a certain point, how much of your cowardice is gonna how much of a coward are you gonna be? Like, are you gonna contribute to the deaths of random people? I mean, he changed it at the end, right?
Right.
There was a certain point where he was like, oh, and even Manta said, oh, this you found an interesting time to find your spine, but like.
Mm-hmm.
He was contributing to a lot of deaths just to save his own life,
And also contributing to climate change, which is kind of like the kind of like the backdrop of this whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. So again, a lot more exposition as to how the Lost Kingdom came about, and I think it was pretty good. Kind of like the graphics were again janky here and there, but it was
mixed.
yeah, it was mixed. It wasn't great, but at the same time, you kind of get the idea of why of why, what's the motivation, why was the king of Necrus trapped in there in the ice, and Atlan was actually the person who trapped it, and they were brothers and stuff. So yeah, they just kind of like, let's just gonna brush through this and then kind of keep going in a lot of ways.
It came off
the movie. This is
it
the
was
beginning of the year. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It looked like all this part reminded me was Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Right?
Oh yeah.
You're trying to revive the big bad guy, and he's operating through the one henchman or something, So
exactly.
That's how it came off to me on this stuff.
Exactly, and so we get closer now to the end where the scheme was basically they figured out, oh well, they're trying to get Atlan's blood. Well, Atlan is not alive anymore. So who's the last person in line? Is actually Junior is the last person in line. So again, there was some scenes where Black Manta kidnapped Arthur Junior, almost mortally wounding his father. I mean Arthur's father, and so they found out. Arthur's now going to the rescue here and trying to stay away from my son and all that stuff, like battle good and evil pretty much in this regard. And this
fight right here was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so too. Yeah,
it was awesome.
It was really good. I couldn't tell. I mean, they were moving so fast. It was obviously CGI, but it was still very good.
Yeah, it was very nicely choreographed. Yeah, whoever put that scene together.
Definitely. And then so they finished the fight. The fight is finished. Basically, Black Manta actually had a chance to be saved, but he's like, no. And it's like he's like, no, I'm just gonna fall to my death, and that's basically what happened to them. Unfortunately,
if this wasn't the last movie in the entire universe, I wouldn't think that he was actually dead, because Black Manta is like his main villain.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, exactly. So
don't forget, Orm picked up the big bad trident, and he was possessed by the King of Necrus, right? Mm-hmm. And Jason Momoa, I felt like he was back in a Fast 10 movie where basically through the power of family, he was able to pull him out.
I didn't mind that, and that mostly because the brotherhood stuff is the only stuff that really worked throughout the entire movie.
I think so. Yeah, and so this is a nice touching scene at the end where he's basically saying, you should give yourself more credit about ruling the kingdom and stuff like that, and it's a nice touching scene at the end, and I don't get why they kind of made the premise New York City, but I understand that they try to do a Wakanda in some ways. It's like, oh, we're now visible to the Why New York City though? Besides United Nations.
Unashamedly stole from Smith.
Absolutely, they did.
All the way up to the end where he said, "I'm Aquaman."
Yeah, they stole that from Iron Man.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So like, I think they were like, "This is going to be the last movie." I'm going to say the thing that Robert Downey Jr. said at the first movie.
Jason Momoa.
They just let him do it. Right? They don't care. They just let him do it
with a mic drop.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's kind of like our thoughts about Aquaman. Any other final thoughts before we depart from the DCU universe?
Just looking forward to James Gunn and what his new universe is going to bring, because this is clearly the last of it, and a bittersweet end. It's nice. It would have been nice to see a little bit more with better quality, but at the same time, it's like it's just come to an end. So,
Nathan, any final thoughts?
No, it was fine. It wasn't terrible. It'd be a 6 for me too. So like,
Okay.
I kind of heard the beginning of your conversation. So like,
All right.
it was fine. You can see it on HBO Max.
All right. All right. Well, that's our thoughts of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Want to hear from you? Please like, share, subscribe for more content like this, and we will see you in the next video. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
bye everyone.